Hey everybody, Jamie Kelly here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Season 3 of the Approximate Podcast. Be sure to join our Patreon for only $5 a month to see all of Season 3's episodes in full HD video. That's patreon.com/approximate podcast. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. And to everyone who's tuned in, we love you all. And now, on with the show. Kitty! Fucking stop it. God damn it. Fucking cat. Yeah, you. Oi. Scrapple. Stop it. All right, cut. We're done. Fucking cat. God damn it. Hey, Eva Maxim. How are you doing, sweetheart?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. For the listening audience, I want to give them a kind of an idea of how we know each other because we're not strangers. We met on 2 different sets, working for, I think both of them were productions that were directed by Jim Powers.
Yes.
For adult time under various sites. And I think the first one, wasn't the first one like that big orgy scene?
Yes.
Yeah, it was that big orgy scene. We actually had Asia Bell on quite a few episodes ago. Same scene, just like real quick, just for context for the people that are listening. Asia and male talent.
Tony Sinks.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, kick ass. Thank you. The story was that they 2 were together and they had no idea about how sex worked. So what they did was they called an emergency hotline and they brought in all the heavy lifters, like the people that knew what they were doing, which was us. It was you and me and like 3, 4 other girls.
They called it LGBT Center.
Yeah. What? That's what it was. Like, they brought in the cavalry. They brought in the professionals to teach them how to fuck, which is so fucking silly. But it was fun. It was, I don't know, like how your day was that day. I actually had a kind of a tough time that day. I could do the job, right? But of course, when you're on set, what is personal, especially in like a 9-10 hour day, it was a long day. It was a pretty long day. What happens behind the scenes is so different than what gets caught on camera. So personally, I was having kind of a rough day, but you try not to let that like show up on camera. What was that day like for you? Do you remember?
For me, it was fine.
You're just having, it was just a generally good day?
Yeah, I mentally prepare every time I have to go to one of Jim's shoots.
Oh, you have to?
Because I already knew, so I was chilling.
That's good. I'm glad, one of us was.
One of y'all was professional.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. On a professional side, you'd never know the difference.
Yeah.
It was a rough day for me, but that was the first time we met. And then a couple months went by. And then we met each other on another Jim Powers set.
Yes.
And it wasn't a group scene. You had your own specific scene. For people that don't know, a lot of times when you're on a professional porn set, it's going to be like we'll just call it, for lack of a better term, one DVD title. Not that a whole lot of companies are putting out DVDs these days, but it's like a grand scene, usually comprised of like 3 scenes.
Yeah, 3 to 4 scenes. Yeah.
So when the second time that I met Eva, I was doing a scene for Jim Powers, and then everybody involved in this overall production has to show up. I had done a scene, and then Eva showed up, and then her scene partner showed up, and we were all on set that day. And I did mine, and then she did hers with her scene partner, and then a third party did a scene with their scene partner. Big fucking deal, but you got to be there all day. And we had some interaction there, and then that was about the gist of it. Outside of that, maybe we might have like bumped shoulders at a T Awards or something.
Yeah.
But that's how I know you, right? By the way, I just bring all of that up to like give an introduction to our listening audience as to how you and I know each other. Now, with that out of the way, I got to ask you, you've only been in the industry, what, 4 years?
Yes.
Okay, I want to know everything. I want to know how you dipped your foot into this industry.
Well, actually 5 years, because I took a year and a half off.
Little hiatus.
Like, yeah, I have disappeared for here now and then. I'll just go ghost everybody.
Go Mia. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How I got into the industry. Oh my God.
Love it already.
Well, let me warm you up. Let me warm you up because I know it's a big question because so much life happens. I totally understand. I spent an entire podcast just telling the first part of the story about how I got into the industry. I know it's a lot. Let me ask you this: before you got into porn, were you a fan of it?
I never really watched porn, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Like, I always been a naturally horny person, like, but I never really watched porn. And before doing porn, I was go-go dancing at a straight club that nobody knew I was trans. And I was working front desk at a hotel in Miami. So that was...
Oh my God.
So you're stealth in Miami.
Yeah, I was living in Miami and I was working front desk and dancing at night or vice versa. And I did that for quite a while. But I never really had enough money, to tell you the truth. I had money to pay my bills and like, that was it. So like, I desperately needed to find another way of income. And at the time, nothing wrong with anything, but escorting wasn't an option for me. So I knew a couple people in the industry that I'm no longer friends, and I won't say names either. And I kind of asked like, hey, how is this, and that? And they kind of point me into that direction. And one day I get a call and that person said to me, hey, I have a scene for you. Do you want to do it? And I said, yes. And I did it.
What was your first scene?
My first scene was with Trans Sensual.
You were working with Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky Ringwood. He popped my porn cherry. And he was so sweet and he made me feel really comfortable on set. Like, he's an amazing director and his work is fire. So,
what a story, because people that get into the industry that
they start other ways. They start really low.
They start other ways.
Yeah, in trans industry, it's usually groovy that starts.
Yeah,
it,
groovy.
Right?
Yeah.
I know it's like our first inclination to say people start low, but like people start from to be fair to anybody that might be listening and might be, trying to work their way through this industry. I'll be as fair as I can and say that some people they just have that impetus to get into porn because they're fans or because it is a passion of theirs and they want to get into it from that way. And no matter what level they're at, eventually what they want to do is they want to get on a mainstream set because that just plays into your income stream. That plays into having a little bit of notoriety. That plays into building a portfolio if this is something that you're passionate about.
Yeah,
but not a lot of people just get to go right to the studio scene.
That's also studio work is also something you think of when you're like, oh, well, I'll do porn. You don't think about just like doing amateur stuff. Like, you don't really consider that porn. I mean, it is absolutely, but like getting into it for the first time, what you have your mind set on is like, oh, let's do some, I want to shoot for Evil Angel. I want to shoot for Transensual.
I want to tell people that are listening right away, especially what I'll just call up and comers, is that if you whether or not you have a passion for it and you're starting and you're like doing everything on your own to like climb the proverbial ladder, or you just start out on a quote unquote professional mainstream porn studio shoot, it turns out at the end of the day with enough time and enough experience, it's actually kind of all the same thing.
It's all the same.
It's all
Absolutely.
the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all sex work.
The real difference is, are you shooting in your apartment or are you shooting in Malibu?
Yeah.
You got a budget or are you just like kind
It's
of
the same
pulling
thing.
it together?
It's the same work. And when it comes to like the personal human experience of making a production, like the magic goes away, the novelty wears off, and you realize that at the end of the day, whether it's you in your bedroom doing your best creative effort, or whether you're working with a quote unquote top tier director, the work is the same. Because I wish somebody had told me this when I was young and starting off, that once you make it to those heights and you're on those kind of studio productions, there's nothing magical that happens or special that happens. It's a $1,200 check, a lot of Uber rides, and a lot of like, paying for your own plane ticket, and just dealing with people. Like your life isn't going to change once you like get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So however you're starting, it's legitimate. You're valid.
So that was your right away, Ricky Greenwood. Right away, that was your deal. Now, how did you feel about it when that was your first time? When you walked off that set, how did you feel about it?
A lot went through my mind. Like,
yeah.
a lot went through my mind because I knew once I crossed that threshold, there was like no going back. Like, this is it. So I knew what was the pros and cons of that, and I took the decision to do it. So no regrets, to be honest. I made sure that was something that I was going to do. I came, to the realization that things were going to change once I took that step. And
very good foresight on your end right there, because it is a very major decision you make.
It's a huge decision, believe it or not. Like,
yeah, because the stigma will follow you and stuff. But also, you got to commit to doing it if you're wanting to do it too.
I can only imagine like the trepidation you felt. Was that a concern of yours going in, that now there is a public life where you're now officially seen as being a sexual entity that makes money off of sex? Did you feel like you were giving up private life?
In some levels, yes. Like, whether you want it or not, once you're in porn, your life is not regular and normal. And you're no longer like go by the standards that society puts on you. Like, you lose all kind of shame, So I knew what I was doing the second I did my first shoot. That's what I said, no regrets. Because like, you cannot go and do it not knowing that you may want to have that content erased later on. It doesn't work like that.
Was it scary?
Absolutely.
It was scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I had to think about my family, and I have to think about like people that knew me. At that moment, certain people didn't even know I was trans because I had a different lifestyle. Like, I wasn't really part of LGBTQ type of thing. Like,
you were stealth.
Yeah, that got integrated into me like later on. Like, I wanted a normal, regular life, so I moved away from the city that I transitioned to a place that nobody knew me, and I started a new life. Because now, my own managers and stuff like that, when I go visit my mom and stuff, they seen my work. Like, people recognize me now when I.
So they think differently now.
Well, some of them have a positive view about it. Like, why you never told us? Oh my God, you're so hot. Some of them want to sexualize me, and some of them is like, oh my God, you're a disgrace. My life changed once I did porn. And if I ever want to change my reality again, I just will make the decision of not doing that. And
I'm about to ask a question. You don't have to answer anything, because like, I want to know so much about what built you up to this, because it's fascinating, and it's very much unlike stories that we normally hear when we have performers come on and people that are like super inundated into adult entertainment. How did your transition come about? When did it start? What moves did you make to be who you are today?
Okay, well, I came out to my family when I was 12. So in the closet life, I never had that, and I had the support of my family from a young age. I wasn't really kicked out of the house or anything like that. Yeah, my dad was sad because I'm an only, back then, boy child. So
right.
But my family supported me. I was out. I was gay. I was 12 years old. My family knew I liked boys. So that wasn't really the issue. I went by my life, I had a boyfriend in high school that was older than me. I was openly gay in my school, so no one really could call me a faggot or any of those things because I was already out. There was no hiding.
Not to sound like stupid or anything, but loud and proud right away.
But I was sad. That wasn't it. I was really sad. I was really depressed, and I couldn't figure it out. Like until one Halloween that I dressed as a girl, and I think I was already kind of feminine, and I used to work for MAC Cosmetics and things like that then. So like I was able to express myself with makeup and hairstyles and wear heels to work and all of that. And once I experienced all that, and one Halloween I dressed into a girl, I automatically knew that.
You were.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I did struggle a little. I went to therapy.
Like more than the required therapy to get on HRT, or like?
No, my issue was that I used to have these panic attacks, like manic attacks, and I will just throw all my boy clothes away and be like, I don't want to be a boy anymore, and like, I don't want to be a girl anymore, and like do that. So I had like this back and forth.
There was this internal struggle.
Yeah, because believe it or not, I low-key enjoyed being both at that time.
Sure. No. I feel you shrinking away, but I think that's a very important thing, especially.
Well, I was finding myself back then, like
right. But for like the listening audience, especially because I know that so many people that are listening to this podcast are going to be people that are like us, probably at a younger age, probably people that are still like figuring things out, and that is a very real. Valid thing to talk about is that this struggle between feeling boy or feeling girl or feeling something in between, the pressure of feeling, should I be on one side of the binary system? And figuring, is it okay to just be something in between, or do I got to pick a side? Or it's a huge struggle.
When I was cross-dressing per se, because that's what I was doing back then.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't even knew that trans was the thing.
Yeah.
I had no information whatsoever about transsexuals or that you can have boob jobs or anything like that. Back then, I was I don't want to, kind of ignorant because I was a shelter child. Like
ignorance, fine. All ignorance means is that you just don't have the information. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, you just have some growing to do.
Yeah, I didn't really know that was a thing. Mm-hmm. So it took me quite some time to figure that out until I saw a trans girl. And oh my God, it was a horrible experience because to my eyes, she was so pretty, so gorgeous. And that's the only girl that I knew when I was, escaping and going to my gay clubs and stuff like that, hiding from my family just to go out and stuff. That was the only trans girl I have ever saw. And once I seen her, I automatically knew, oh my God, that's what I want to be. So I invited that girl actually for lunch. And we met, and this girl said to me, I don't see it for you. Oh my God, that fucking bitch was so mean.
That's fucked up.
To me. So mean to me. Mind you, till today, she lives here in Vegas.
Where do you think that kind of negativity comes from?
I think the negativity came from insecurities of her own and her dealing work.
That makes a lot of sense.
With her transitioning her own.
Yeah.
Anybody ask me like, oh my God, like I want to be like you. I want to be trans. Like I will literally be like, this is what you do. This is your resources. Like
absolutely, yeah.
Do your research.
Very transparent.
Don't gatekeep.
I will never do that because when I was on that spot, like I was low key like desperate because I knew something was happening. I just didn't know who to turn to.
Right. And that's,
And then you get discouraged like that. But
that's ouch.
So I've been having really bad taste about other trans girls. My lifetime. I don't have many friends that are trans just because of the cattiness of transitionalism community.
It is such a heavy weight to be in a state of development and to be quote unquote ignorant and to reach out to somebody that's so vulnerable and to have your first encounter be somebody that's catty like that. That is horrible. And I hate that it colored your view of reaching out to other people because it just sounds like shitty circumstances. You just happen to ask the wrong kind of person. I gotta say, fuck that person, first and foremost. But secondly, please don't let that one interaction taint your view because so many of us want to help, and we want to be transparent because I'll say it, good people
foster positivity.
We want to foster positivity, one. And we also know, those of us with experience, we don't want to give that same shitty position that we feared when we were coming up to somebody that is just asking a simple question.
That goes back to like the upbringing that you had and how you transition. Because majority of us, once we come out to our parents or our family, we get kicked out and we have to defend for ourselves. And we've been taken advantage of, we've been kicked, we've been raped, we've been so many negative things that when you finally become the person that you want to be, you're just a sad, sour person, not by choice, by life.
Scars.
Yeah, by life circumstances. So I don't hold it against that girl, or I will never hold it against that girl. Like once I grew and I became into myself, and then I saw my privileges, and then ones that other people had, I came to realize that it wasn't my issue, it was hers.
It was hers. It was a her problem.
As much as you had some growing to do and you wanted to reach out to somebody who might help you grow, she had some growing to do.
Back to your question, I'm sorry. I went to therapy. With my therapist, we figured out that I was happier as a girl. And we tried it. And the second I got my first hormone shot, my brain chemistry just like clicked. I don't know how to explain it to you.
It flips over. It does. It flips over.
It clicked, and then absolutely everything.
I mean, the shot is instant too, so you're not waiting on anything.
No,
it's right into blood.
Within a week.
Yeah.
Within a week, believe it or not, like I felt it hit me like a wall. Like I just felt like something.
It was right.
Yeah, clicked in my head.
Absolutely.
Here I am.
As far as like you were talking about not knowing what trans is, not knowing transgender, not knowing transsexual or anything like that, that was kind of my situation too. Like I had to learn through like pop culture and some like porn and stuff that I was like, that I ended up seeing like, oh.
I had no way to like, I was just that weird little kid, And then as I grew up, when I hit puberty, obviously something was different. I was compelled. I had to dye my hair, grow it out long. I was cutting up my jeans to make short shorts. Something was there that was against the grain. And it wasn't until I was about 20 years old. This is around 2000, 2001. And everybody started having like free-flowing internet. And I would watch porn. I was very sexual, 20-year-old, like 20-year-olds want to be. And I would just look up all kinds of porn. My imagination was rife with things that were pleasurable. And I found trans porn sites. And I didn't know what it was. It seemed to me that it was like a freak of nature kind of thing. Wait, there's girls and but how do they have, I couldn't do the math and say, oh no, these are just people that transition. They had access to hormones and they did surgery and things like that. To me, it was such a weird thing. I thought, well, if you're born a dude and you're a girly, well, it's probably cross-dressing is the thing that you do. But I was so stupid and so ignorant at 20, around the early 2000s, that when I saw trans porn and they were using words like tranny and she-male and stuff, I'd look at it and I go, oh, well, this has to be like a manipulated like Photoshop or something. Like, it didn't make sense that something could be that feminine and also like have the equipment of a dude, you know? So I couldn't even make heads or tails of it. And all the while I'm watching this stuff, I'm literally going through these tiny things like adjusting my dress and feeling like I couldn't put a word on it, you know? It just didn't make sense. The more I saw, the more I realized, oh, wait, these are actually real people. And this is, oh, I can just do with myself whatever I want. And then ideas about this like super binary system of being, one or the other really I started taking it more seriously is what I'm getting to, and realized that I could do something about it. But money, time, and circumstances, once I understood what you could do, I didn't have the money, time, or circumstances. It took a lot of me working in sex work to build up the capital and like figuring out, okay, let's do this. Let's go all in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's figure out how hormones work. Let's figure out how to do name changes. Let's figure out what surgery means. Let's figure out what all this stuff is. I mean, that was my avenue, was like looking at porn. Not because it was a sexual thing, but because it was the only representation that I saw of something that I didn't have an answer to. So,
Yeah, Jerry Springer was probably that. And I was like, no, there's no fucking way I'm that. There's no way. There was way too much drama there.
Well, that's the thing too. Like those early representations was all about like showing trans as being a freak show.
Stigmatized big time.
Yeah. So like the Jerry Springer shows and the talk shows, they would make us like circus freaks, and you didn't want to be a person of ridicule. So obviously I'm not that. But it turns out you actually were, and the system was like taking advantage of people struggling for, sensationalism.
Yep. It's funny. You mentioned having somebody kind of be shitty to you at first. I was working at Subway, and I had a girl come in because around that time I had already started, HRT and therapy to get HRT and all that stuff. And being trans, you kind of just, you can't always, but like being trans, you kind of like pick up on somebody else who's trans, most of the time I would say. And we kind of hit it off, and then she ended up getting like kind of cunty after that.
People don't really know is that once you start hormones and stuff like that, you go through not only a physical change, but a mental change as well. We're talking about hormones, like your moods will go up and down in a matter of seconds. And it literally takes years to find a nice dose or balance that you feel somewhat, okay, I can handle this.
It is such a radical change for your own homeostasis to kind of level off and catch up. It really does. And nobody gets to escape it. No, you have to be patient. You have to be in for the long haul, and you have to, no matter how bad or weird shit feels on the day, you have to accept that once you've introduced the chemicals and the therapy and the accepting of yourself and your psychology and your upbringing, it's all one big basket of chaos that you have to let ride for the long haul. And you do eventually even out. I promise you, anybody that's listening or watching right now, I promise you, don't give up. It does even out. It's just you're asking a lot of your body, you're asking a lot of your upbringing, you're asking a lot of like what your parents gave to you in your own mind. So it takes a long time, but it will work out and even out. I promise you that.
You got to think like we're going through these chemical changes and physical changes in a very short, relatively time frame to what like a teenage, like a puberty and like a cis girl would be. So like, yeah, it's
that's a very important thing to say. All the chaos of puberty, we reintroduce to ourselves in our 20s or 30s. If we're late starters. Ideally, you'd like to catch it before physical puberty, But if you're doing any kind of like trans self-care outside of puberty, you're essentially introducing a new puberty. And so that's another thing to take into consideration as you allow for the patience of how your body's reacting to everything and how your mind's reacting to everything. It takes patience. Stick with it, guys. Stick with it. Girls, stick with it. Everybody in between, stick with it.
It's really awesome that you had family support right off the bat, like that. Aside from your dad, being a little bit iffy there, but starting going down that road at 12, like when did you first start taking the like chemical steps to?
Oh, I didn't started my chemical transition until I was 20, 21. Like, and I'm really happy I waited that long because, like I said, it's a very serious decision. And remember, you're putting chemicals in your body, like you're basically castrating yourself. You're doing so many steps that even if you try to reverse it later on, it may affect you one way or another. Like it's no joke.
Did you go through like an endo at first, or like an endocrinologist at first?
I did it by the book.
Yeah, I did too. And my endocrinologist was happy. She was like, "I'm so glad you developed personality before you started transitioning."
Like I did it by the book, and I had my support system, and I had my therapist. So like, and I'm the type of person that I ask, why am I feeling like this? Why am I being so aggressive? Why am I the why? So if those behavior happen again, I can kind of be like, oh, okay, I may be a little bit too emotional. Let me just, retire myself. Let me just not go out tonight because I feel like a little bit antsy. And we do get a lot of anxiety. Like half of us are half medicated at all times. So not everybody has the mentality to be what we are. It's not a nice, easy road. You go against everybody, absolutely everybody.
What I love hearing from you is how, even from a very early age and through all the struggles, I get the vibe from you that you are very self-possessed and that you are weighing your decisions against what you know about yourself. You're inquisitive. Yeah, not just, it doesn't sound like you're just doing anything just to do it.
No, I can. I can because whatever I do, I'll commit to it. Or I become the best at it. That's it. There's no other choice for me. So if I'm going to bake croissants, I'm going to make sure I will have the best croissants in town.
What's up?
Like...
So is there going to be Eva Maxim's croissants, like
something
bakery
like
in the future?
Yeah, in a penis shape. So with transitioning, if you're committed to transition, you have to commit. Because what I've been seeing a lot, and you are in your total right to change your mind at any point in your life. But like when you transition and then that's not really your, and then you go back like.
Given what you're saying, do you think that there is a specific point? Should it be like, I'm going to always go back to puberty. Do you think you should make those kind of decisions after or before puberty? Or what is the cutoff? What is the line before somebody starts to make a decision?
I feel like if you think you have an undecisive personality, like I did back then, I didn't know if I wanted to stay a boy, if I wanted to stay a girl. Like, at least I could pick on that and be like, oh, okay, something is going on. Something much deeper is going on. As if I go by my impulses and one day I'm a girl and then I change my mind again without even knowing why I'm changing my mind. I think that's an issue deeper in there than... So I feel it's always best to do your research, to experience it out beforehand, to gather information before you take that.
Yeah, so as much as you have to be vetted through like therapy and stuff like that, vet your own self. Like really sit down with yourself in the mirror and like say, hey, like do I really need this? Like, and I think a lot of people do. That's why our detrans is, like 1% of the population. And usually that's societal reasons anyways.
I kind of like this idea about it. And of course I'd like this idea because it's my idea. If I were to give somebody a bit of advice, I wouldn't say worry about a deadline or starting point, and I wouldn't say worry about politics or how outside forces affect your decisions. I would say like I did, and of course I would because I like me. But this is what I always did. I always just enjoyed the adventure because no matter what happens, you're figuring yourself out. And outside forces, at the end of the day, don't matter. You're going to do what you do. If you make a mistake that's in light of people looking at you, or if you make a quote unquote mistake that is politically motivated or whatever, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you have to live with you. If you're a trans person, you're trying to figure something out, just make mistakes. Make mistakes. Figure yourself out. You eventually are going to come to a point where you're like, oh, actually, none of this mattered because gender or trans or political or this or that, or it turns out I was me the whole time. Despite anything, I was just me the whole time. And that's the only thing that matters. That's what matters to my family. That's what matters to my friends. That's what matters to people I work with. That's what matters to, and you have to be at peace with yourself. And taking that long journey and weighing your decisions against political motivation or medical motivation, at the end of the day, it's your life. And I think it's most important to kind of get past what it is to be trans or anything, because again, life is short. Get your bullshit out of the way and, do things that are important. Make music, make good food, hang out with your cat, give all of your time and effort and care to love. Get past the whole trans thing and stop. Get that shit out of the way. Go down every different avenue that you have to. Make mistakes, feel bad, feel good. Your life can't just be about your goddamn gender.
Yeah. Get passionate about your life. That's the main thing about trans. Like, we're not happy with our life. We want to be happy with our life. So we make a thing different about our life. I'm not saying any trans person who's wanting to transition right now is thinking politically about it at all. I'm saying that image is being hijacked a lot now and pushed an agenda that will actually harm up and coming trans people.
I will say this because I already know how I sound, and it sounds like I'm being like a weird centrist. It's not what I mean at all. Being a loving, caring person and then spreading that love around, that's going to be the most that's going to give your life substance.
Even if your heart's shaped like a fist.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Let your heart be shaped like a fist. No uncertain terms. If anybody fucks with you about being trans, no matter where you are in your head about it, the moment somebody comes at you about being trans, always meet opposition with violence. Fuck them. It's a middle finger. Again, have a heart that's shaped like a fist. But just know that at the end of the day, being trans isn't who you are. It isn't what you are. It's just something you're dealing with so that you can get back to the business of being a good person. That's all it is. That's all I'm saying.
It's a very touchy subject because we're going to continue having different opinions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions. 3 pieces of advice that you'd give up-and-comers in this industry that you think up-and-comers ought to know.
Do your research. Ask questions. Ask, and please say no. Know your value and absolutely say no. Don't be afraid to say no. Know your worth. Ask for money. Ask for tests. Ask for money because remember, you're the money maker and they're making money off you. So without you, there is no porn. So ask for your value. Don't be scared. Get your tests comped. Ask them to flag you. Do it.
The main takeaway from this first question is know your value. Very good advice. What's the number 2 thing?
Never get cocky. Whether you are very well known or not, just be humble. The industry can eat you alive, and you can lose track of your human self. So, like, don't get cocky.
Don't get cocky. That's a great number 2.
Yeah, don't let the ego take over. Absolutely.
What's number 3?
When I tell you my boundaries of like, don't touch me here, don't touch me there, like if I tap you, like some people it doesn't really happen like that no more. People are paying more attention because we're speaking out. But like, if I say no, means no, not a maybe.
Hold tight to personal boundaries.
Yeah.
And make it manifest on set.
Yes.
You have to stand up for yourself.
And just know because you're doing porn, you have value. Like, don't let anybody disrespect you. Don't let everybody touch you off set. Like, don't do none of that. You have to set strong boundaries within everything because they'll eat you alive, girl.
I love it. I love
Great
it.
advice.
God damn it. I love this episode. This has been fucking heavy.
Thank you so much for coming through.
This has been amazing. Eva Maxim. There it is. Thank you so much, sweetheart. We really appreciate you being here. Everybody, thank you so much for listening or watching this episode of the Approximate Podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right, you guys take care.